Okay. So, I don't have my glasses on because I'm crying from the last one that I just recorded, and you know, I might even cry for this one, but I don't know. I don't know. Making these is not to bash or put a whole bunch of attention onto the people that I am talking about. Obviously, when I spoke about my father, he's my father, so you can kind of figure out who that is. But for this next one, I want to talk about an ex, but it's a specific ex, and I don't want to give her a name. She's a she. That's about all I will give you. And if you know who I'm talking about, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine as well. But if you do know who I'm talking about, I do ask that you do not drop any names. I don't want to bring any negative attention to this video. That is not my intention. What I want to do here is speak about how I feel in a way that allows me to vent, and you know, I don't want it to be a negative thing. So here we go. I've talked about this person quite a bit in other videos, and the reason why her name, not really necessarily her name, but her, the reason why she comes up is because I think about her quite often, and you know, the time in my life that I had with her meant a lot to me, and the way that things ended still messes me up. I'm the type of person where it takes me like 5 minutes to be sorry. It takes me 5 minutes to forgive. I don't hold on to hate at all. I don't even know what a grudge is. I forgive everybody for everything. And I think a big reason why I do that is probably because of the way that I was raised and how my childhood went. I just always want to make things better. And I realize that by holding grudges or being angry at people, it doesn't allow you to move on or progress. Forgiving doesn't always mean that you need to have those people back in your life. Sometimes it just means that you're letting go and you're moving on. But it can mean both. And for me, I allow people into my life that some people wouldn't if they were in my situation. And I guess that's just a personal choice. I feel like life is both too short and too long to hold on to things like that. So I'm very, very forgiving. And that ex, she says that she forgives me. And when she says that, she means the kind where you're doing it for yourself, not for the other person. And that's cool. I'm glad that she got herself to that point. It's been 6 years. So it's been a while. It was a little bit before I met Shauna. Well, like a year before I met Shauna. And what bothers me about the whole situation is that when things end on bad terms, it doesn't matter if it's a friendship, if it's a relationship, or if it's like family or anything. If something ends on bad terms and then a person stops talking to me, I let it eat me up inside. And I don't really know why I do that, but I'll replay things over in my head a million times, and I know that it doesn't help me, and I know that it's not changing the situation, but I guess it's just how my brain is. I let things drive me insane. And when things ended with me and her, I made it seem like I didn't love her. And the reason why I did that was because I did love her. And I don't know if that makes sense to all of you, but I'm sure there's some of you who must know what I'm talking about. It's kind of like a, you gotta hurt before you get hurt kind of thing. what was happening was I was thinking about transitioning, and I had been thinking about it for months and months and months. I've been thinking about it my whole life, but more recently in that time I was thinking about it for months, and I brought it up to her, and she said that she wouldn't want to be with somebody who was transitioning. And the conversation kind of happened, but it wasn't like a super serious conversation. It was just kind of something that was said, and then it was kind of like put away. And I don't remember how much time there was in between that conversation and breaking up, but it wasn't like all at once. And then once we broke up, I was with somebody else. Not in a relationship, but sexually I was with somebody else, and she asked me about it, and I told her the truth, and then that was that. She didn't want to talk anymore, and that was the beginning of the end. Then there were some other things that happened in there that aren't really important to what I'm having to say here, so I'm just not even going to bother. But because things ended that way, and I didn't expect it to, it messed me up. It really messed me up, because for a while I believed that we were going to be friends, because there was about, like, I think 2, maybe 3 months in between breaking up and that point, and I thought that we were going to be friends. And I was happy with being friends because she's a really wonderful person, and I still believe that to be true now. I haven't talked to her in 6 years, but I believe that she's a great person, and she deserves all the best. It sucked. It sucked. She actually, and everything that I'm telling you guys here now, I've told Shauna 1,000 times. Me and Shauna talk about everything. There's no surprises with us, and I love that about her. Shauna is amazing, but this is not about Shauna. So, when everything ended, I went through a period where I was like, I don't care, and then I said a whole bunch of things that I shouldn't have. I did this a lot, and the reason why I know exactly what I did and what I said is because I have all of my inbox messages ever on my old Facebook, all in a file, and I have every single tweet ever. So I know exactly what I said, I know what I did, and something that I did back then to, I guess, protect myself was I would put the other person down to the lowest to try to make myself feel better. And that is not, and will never be, a good way of dealing with things. But I was 19 years old, and at 19 I feel like you don't really know everything. You definitely don't know everything, but when it comes to relationships, it's kind of a new thing, because you've only been doing it for a couple years. And I just didn't know how to deal with it, and I dealt with it in the wrong way. And reading back now as a 24, almost 25-year-old, not even close to the same person. I almost can't even relate to that person. I would hate that person. Well, not really, because I don't really hate people, but you know what I mean. I didn't like who I was. And even then I don't think I liked who I was, but now I think I do. I mean, there's things about myself that I don't like, but when it comes to the way that I treat others, I think I'm a good person. And I like me now. But it was so hard reading through all that stuff, because when you go 6 years without talking to someone and then you start reading conversations they have, it kind of like brings it back. It brings them back to life, because they're not dead, but they're kind of dead to you. Because you don't hear their voice, you don't see them, you don't know what's going on in their lives, and it all comes rushing back. And I loved her. I loved her. I loved her a lot. I think I loved her so much that I didn't know what to do with it. There's so much stacked against us, though, and I think that's That's what it all comes down to. And I don't regret, like, I regret certain things I've done, but I don't really regret the way everything ended up. If you know what I mean? Because I am more happy with Shauna than I could ever be happy with anybody else. The relationship I have with Shauna, it doesn't compare to anything. But that doesn't make relationships before Shauna any less valid. And I think that's important for people to remember. That it's okay that you loved somebody else. It's okay that you had feelings for somebody else. And one thing that I love about Shauna and I is that we can talk about stuff like that. And it's okay. And she even asked me. She asked me a couple weeks ago, or actually it was just last week, when I was going through all those conversations, and she said, if there's anybody from your past that you wish was, like, here now, who would you pick? And that ex, that's who I picked. And I said it with, like, a frog in my throat. Because it's, like, hard to say. And for a lot of people, it might just seem weird. Like, oh, just get over it. It's over, you know, like, it's done. Why does it matter? Well, yeah, it is over. It's done. But it does matter. Because she was a big part of my life. She was a big, huge part of my life. It might not have been for a long time. We were only together, like, shortly under a year. But it mattered. And it always will matter. In the history of my life, in my story, she matters a lot. And like I said, I hope she's doing well. I hope she's doing well. Be kind to the people you date. Don't ever take anyone for granted. Don't ever put anybody down to the lowest. If you need to break up, try to do it in a mutual kind of non-violent way. I mean, we weren't physically violent, but we both said things to each other that we probably shouldn't have, and I probably said way more than she ever did, but like I said, I hope she's doing well. I'll always wish her the best. I think she's an amazing person, and that'll never change.